All right, I am back. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep this up, but right now it looks like it's staying in the right zone. There we go. All right. Yes. I am back. I am back. All right. Yes, where were we? All right. We were talking about Rosh Chodesh Adar Rishon, which is Shabbos, Friday and Shabbos. Okay, so tonight begins Rosh Chodesh Adar Rishon. It's very cool. Mishenichnas Adar Marbin Besimcha, and we will definitely have some joyous things. And we're going to start in this broadcast. So let's get going. Boys and men, please take your front two tzitzis. Let's make a bracha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tzitzit.
Right. Everyone together, I'll divrei Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al divrei Torah.
Right. Hareini Mikabel.
Hareini Mikabel alai mitzvat aseh shel ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. I take upon myself every single day to love my fellow friend in a very special way.
All right. Torah Tziva. Are you ready?
Ay Torah tziva lanu Moshe borasha keilat Yaakov. Torah tziva lanu Moshe borasha keilat Yaakov.
All right. Time to give tzedakah.
I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else to keep. Yeah, I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki, the tzedakah box. I put it in the pushki for someone else in need.
Fantastic. And that takes us to the saying of the Shema. Let's go and cover our eyes. Are you ready? Here we go.
Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Amen.
And of course, that takes us to breakfast. And let me just get my stuff together here. All right. Shahakol, I have coffee and yogurt. Are you ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shahakol nihiyah bidvaroi.
Coffee, blessed coffee. God bless you for being a friend. When the whole world turns on me, it's only you on which I can depend. I want to taste you in the morning and a few times throughout the day. Yes, a cup or two in the evening too. For me, it's the only way. Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Hold on. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just setting up over here. All right. And that takes us to today in Jewish history. All right, I'm all set now. So sorry about this. All right. It is Thursday, an auspicious day, to say the least. The passage of the Code of Theodosius, the first imperial compilation of an anti-Jewish law since Constantine. Jews were prohibited from holding important office, positions involving money, including judicial and executive offices, ban against building new synagogues. Theodosius was the Roman Empire of the Roman Emperor of the East in the years 408 to 450. The code was readily accepted by the Roman Emperor Valentinian the Third. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Jews were expelled by the Pope from Rome in 1569. The first large ghetto in Poland, established by the Nazis in Lodz on this day in 1940. Terrorists from Hezbollah kidnapped Colonel William Higgins, a U.S. Marine serving with the United Nations Truce Monitoring Group in Lebanon, and later murdered him in 1988. Today is the anniversary of the Columbia spaceship, and a tragedy for Israel as the first Israeli astronaut perished. This happened in 2003. I think basically the best thing for us to do at this point is for me to play you a video about this. Hope I don't get dinged for it, but here we go. We'll try this.
We began 13 years ago this week. On February 1st, 2003, Space Shuttle Columbia was returning home from its 28th mission when disaster struck.
The shuttle broke apart over Texas and Louisiana as it re-entered Earth's atmosphere. All 7 crew members on board were killed. Bob Orr's reporting led the evening news that night.
Shuttle Columbia, with 7 astronauts aboard, was streaking across the blue Texas skies just 16 minutes from home when it blew apart. In a horrifying echo of the Challenger catastrophe 17 years earlier, flaming debris fell to Earth along a 300-mile-long trail of destruction from Fort Worth to western Louisiana.
Sadly, I think from the video that's available, it does not appear that there were any survivors.
Officials say Columbia suffered a catastrophic structural breakup that may have begun 7 minutes before the spacecraft disintegrated.
The first indications were of the loss of sensors, temperature sensors in the hydraulic systems on the left wing.
Multiple failures followed. Mission Control lost tire pressure indications, a problem shuttle commanders also noted in their final radio transmission.
And Columbia, Houston, we see your tire pressure messages and we did not copy your last.
Roger.
Commander Rick Husband's transmission was abruptly cut off. 40 miles above the Earth, traveling at 18 times the speed of sound, Columbia broke into pieces. Mission Control lost all contact and all hope.
We lost the data, and that's when we clearly begin to know that we had a bad day.
Columbia's mission had been a success, 16 days filled with scientific experiments. But NASA investigators now want to find out if the mission's tragic ending actually began with the shuttle's launch. When Columbia lifted off the pad January 16th, a piece of foam used to insulate the external fuel tank broke off and struck the leading edge of the left wing. It caused no obvious damage to the wing or the heat tiles that protect the shuttle during re-entry. But now there are preliminary indications the shuttle's breakup may have begun on that same left side. That's where NASA lost the sensors and where Mission Control noted, quote, excessive structural heating. And video shows a large piece of the shuttle, possibly a wing, ripping off the spacecraft just before the whole orbiter came apart.
Right at the top of the list will be a concern about the thermal protection system, the tiles which insulate the spacecraft from the heat of reentry.
Investigators now will zero in on the data received from Columbia just before it was lost to try to reconstruct the fatal sequence of failures. But they also desperately need physical evidence from the wreckage to precisely pin down the cause.
The disaster was front-page news for weeks. An investigation later determined that it was a piece of foam that had damaged the spacecraft's heat-resistant tiles. NASA faced sharp criticism for not doing anything about the foam problem, despite having known about it from previous launches.
Very, very sad. Very sad indeed. Ilan Ramon was the first Israeli astronaut, and he perished on this mission. It's very sad, but we have some information about Ilan Ramon. So let's watch this.
There ain't no synagogues on Mars, nor Shabbat candles on the moon.
And we have a go for auto sequence.
But one remarkable individual got pretty close.
We have booster ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Columbia with a multitude of national and international space research experiments.
Ilan Ramon was a second-generation Holocaust survivor. His mother survived Auschwitz, where countless Jews rose through the chimneys of the crematoria. Never again became a slogan that Ilan personally turned into reality. Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein vowed repeatedly to incinerate the state of Israel. In 1979, he began rapid construction on a nuclear reactor. Ilan joined a brave team of Israeli Air Force pilots who led an impossibly dangerous raid that incapacitated Saddam's reactor. But for a man with Ilan's ambition, even the sky is not the limit.
Finally, I want to announce that an Israeli astronaut and a payload of Israeli instruments will fly on a space shuttle mission next year.
Hello, my name is Ilan Ramon, and I'm honored and privileged to be on this flight with this wonderful team.
For Ilan, for Israel, for Holocaust survivors, and for Jews worldwide, the symbolism was enormous. This ancient, miraculous people had once again risen from the ashes to not only survive, but thrive. Ilan felt compelled to represent all Jews by representing Judaism itself, and he did so by choosing to observe Shabbat.
And it was quite exciting to meet Ilan. I felt this immediate attachment because he went straight over to me and gave me a big hug.
Rabbi Zvi Konakov is director of Chabad of the Space and Treasure Coasts and met Ilan while he was in training at Kennedy Space Center.
He said to me that he really wants to keep and mark Shabbat in the shuttle, and he wanted me to tell him when would be Shabbat for the 3 weeks that he would be in space, what exact time, when would he keep the Shabbat? His question was, if every 90 minutes is another sunset, so basically another day, and every 10 and a half hours is technically Shabbat, and really every 20 days is Rosh Hashanah, if you get where I'm going. I sent letters to Rabbanim, chief rabbis throughout the world. They said that he should set his watch in accordance with the local Cape Canaveral time, and that's how he should keep Shabbat.
In addition to observing Shabbat, Ilan would also take a Torah that survived the German concentration camps into space. After months of training and a lengthy delay, Ilan and his 6 fellow crew members launched aboard Space Shuttle Columbia.
Start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have booster ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Columbia with a multitude of national and international space research experiments.
Ten days later, while Jews around the globe were reciting the Friday night Kiddush, thanking God for his eternal day of rest, Ilan did the same many miles off the planet.
I'll never forget that day, that morning, February 1st, when I was walking with my daughter. We were walking to shul, walking to the Chabad Center, and I knew that the shuttle was supposed to land exactly 9:16. We didn't hear the sonic boom, which is always something you hear, and it's a tremendous blast, even louder than the actual launch.
Columbia, Houston, UHF, comm check.
This day has brought terrible news and great sadness to our country. At 9 o'clock this morning, Mission Control in Houston lost contact with our Space Shuttle Columbia. A short time later, debris was seen falling from the skies above Texas. The Columbia is lost. There are no survivors.
But Ilan taught us a powerful message. No matter how fast we're going, no matter how important our work, we need to pause and think about why we're here on earth. Truthfully, when you think about it, it really is the legacy of Ilan, what he taught us about Shabbat.
Miraculously, defying rational explanation, fragile pages of Ramon's personal onboard diary survived. Despite the extreme heat of the explosion, the extreme atmospheric cold at 37 miles above the Earth, and weeks of rain, mud, and insects on the ground, Ilan's words remained readable. "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy," he wrote. A handwritten copy of the Friday night Kiddush prayer was Ilan's final message to the world.
All right. Thank you very much for your indulgence in that. All right. As we said, we are coming up tonight on Rosh Adar. And as you know, we will have 2 Adars this year. Wait a little bit so you can see it. All right. This is a leap year in which there are 2 months of Adar, a total of 60 days. Our sages teach us that all undesirable additions become batal and of no significance in 60. There you go. Batal b'shishim. May we all merit this and the transformation of darkness into light in our immediate future. Was of bacon. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the month of Adar.
But Rabbi, it's supposed to be Adar, and we're supposed to be celebrating, getting ready for Purim. Why is it not Purim if it's Adar? Fantastic question. This month is known as the month of Adar 1. There are actually 2 Adars in the calendar year of a leap year. What's going on over here? When do we celebrate Purim? When do we celebrate Bar Mitzvahs? Which is the real Adar? And can the real Adar please stand up? So, this is the story. The Jewish calendar is based on the lunar cycle, i.e. 12 months of 29 days, 12 hours, X minutes, Y seconds, giving us a total of 354 days. The solar calendar, as we know, is 365 days and a quarter. And hence, every 4 years, you have a leap year in the civil calendar. The problem is as follows, is that every single year, you're going to have an 11-day gap between the dates of the solar calendar and the lunar calendar. So after 3 years, you're down by 33 days, which is already a month. So what's going to happen is that the festivals will start going to fall out of line. And the truth is, the Jewish calendar is not specifically a lunar calendar, it's a combination of lunar and solar. And we know this from the 3 pilgrim festivals of Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, where Pesach has to fall in the springtime, Shavuot, beginning of the harvest season, and Sukkot at the end of the harvest season. The rabbis of old noticed that there was this problem and introduced something called the leap year, the Shnat Ibur, that every 7 out of 19 years they would add in an extra month and thus rebuild the calendar. So 1, 2, 3, back up again, 1, 2, 3. And that is why every single year we find that Purim and Pesach and Rosh Hashanah are always going to be at different times according to the year. Sometimes we call earlier, and sometimes be later, depending on this 13th month of Adar. The question now becomes, is which is the main Adar, and why did they choose Adar? The answer is that the month of Nisan is supposed to be in the festival of spring. So they would notice, if it was too early, Adar was starting too early, they realized that the calendar has dropped, and we need to add in an extra month to bump up Pesach to about the time of April. Hence, we have the 2 Adars. The question now becomes is, which is the main Adar? Adar 1 or Adar 2? Most people say, first one is definitely the most important. It's number 1, right? Not so true. The rabbis in the Talmud had discussed this, and they tried it, and they say as follows, that yes, although Adar 1 has importance, the main one is Adar 2. And they try link this, the Geula, the redemption in the days of the Purim story, with the redemption of Pesach. The other reason they give is as follows, is that the poor would, and the community would know that once you read the Megillah for Purim, you know that 30 days' time is going to be Pesach. So in order to stop any problems between the calendars, the rabbis decreed that the main Adar would be Adar 2 and not Adar 1. However, Adar 1 does have a number of important days within it, and we need to mention them. So, just to clarify for a second, all the events of Adar happen in Adar 2. So, Purim is in Adar 2. Shushan Purim, Adar 2. The special Shabbatot of Shekalim, Zachor, Parah, and HaChodesh all will happen in Adar 2. What happens with Adar 1? Well, here's something fascinating. When it comes to Adar 1, we'd have to deal with Yortzites, the anniversary of the passing of a loved one. And those are commemorated in Adar 1, not Adar 2. Just so you should be aware of that. The second point that we need to make about Adar 1 is that although there is no celebration on the 14th of the month as Purim, it does have a status called Purim Katan, the small Purim, in which there is celebration, there is joy, but not the same as in a regular Purim. We don't read the Megillah, we don't give gifts, but we still try and elevate the day a little bit more. The question becomes, when the month of Adar comes, we increase our joy. Well, now we have 2 months called Adar, and we should have a double enjoyment, so 60 days of joy in this year. How fantastic is that? There's one final issue which is fascinating regarding the month of Adar, and that has to do with the bar mitzvah. When did you determine a bar mitzvah? So in a regular year, we count 13 years, and that's the bar mitzvah. Easy. What happens in the following scenario? A boy is born on the 27th of Adar, and another boy is born on the 2nd of Adar. So by rights, the child born on the 2nd should have his bar mitzvah before the one who had his bar mitzvah on the 27th. However, here's the catch. In that particular year, boy number 1 was born on the 27th of Adar 1. The second boy was born on the 2nd of Adar 2. In a normal year, Adar 1, you'd have his bar mitzvah 1st, 2nd, 27th. But in this year, because of the leap year situation, 27th Adar 1 will have his bar mitzvah before the boy in Adar 2. A little bit confusing, I understand that, but this is one of the anomalies of this festival known as Adar, the 2 Adars. Hope that explains it and explains to you which is the main one. So which is Adar that should stand up? Adar 2 is the main one for our purposes. I wish you all a Rosh Chodesh Sameach. Enjoy these incredibly exciting days and happy days of Adar 1 and Adar 2.
Go out foot.
היום הזה הוא זמן שמחתנו, שמע את התפילה שבליבנו, ותמחול את כל עוונותינו ביום הזה.
Shevat.
For the last 1,000 years, Rashi has been the foremost commentary on the Torah. Rashi's an enigma. Everyone's fascinated by Rashi. Perhaps because of all the great rabbis, Rashi's comments stand out as being at once the most simple, fundamental, and at the same time the most profound. For the young child that is just getting started with studying the Torah, Rashi's words present the most elementary lessons. And for the scholar who spent his entire life studying Rashi's texts, there's always new discoveries to be made in Rashi's words, inner depths. Rashi's legacy reminds us that buried in the simple mind of a child, you can find some of the most essential truths about life. Says today's HaYom, Rabbi Shneir Zalman, the first Rebbe of Chabad, once said, Rashi on the Chumash is like the wine, or is the wine of Torah, in the sense that it's the inner secrets of the Torah. It opens the heart and unlocks one's innate love and fear, the love and fear of Hashem that we are all born with, but sometimes we never know about it. Rashi's commentary on the Chumash helps us tap into that. Rashi's commentary on the Talmud opens the mind and helps you tap in to the essence of your intellect, or the inner genius that is inside of you.
Brilliant. All right. And now a word from our sponsors. We're behind a little bit today.
And now a word from our sponsors. PestProRidall.com.
PestProRidall.com. Trusted by the best to keep away the pests. We are offering COVID-19 disinfection services. Mention this ad and get 1 month free service. Visit us at PestProRidall.com.
Tarzane Group. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Go to tarzanegroup.com or call Tomas at 305-440-0565. That's 305-440-0565 and order today. Visit Tomas and Yair at tarzanegroup.com. Micro, miniature, and small orchids. Beautiful in your home. Go to the website and read Tomas's orchid blog. And by Dina D Design. DinaDDesign@gmail.com. Fine artwork, custom made to your specifications, logos, wall hangings, Judaica, and you can even have something for your child's room. Dina D Designs. Go to her Facebook or Instagram or call or text. Thank you very much to our sponsors. If you'd like to become a sponsor, please go right up here to where it says patreon.com/theactorsrabbi, and you can contribute even only $1 a month if you'd like, but that'll help us bring this broadcast to you on a daily basis and cover our expenses. Be sure to thank your sponsors when shopping and mention Breakfast with Elli when you're shopping there. There might be discounts. Thanks for watching.
Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe.
Okay, patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/tipjar if you would like. Well, what's going on over here? If you would like to help us out, because that's very important. Breakfastwithelli.live/new computer to help us get our new computer. Bradley just got one, an M3, and it's lightning fast. Really cool. All right. It is Thursday. We begin Rabbi Sachs' Covenant and Conversation, Part 1.
Healing the Heart of Darkness. Jobbik, otherwise known as the Movement for a Better Hungary, is an ultra-nationalist Hungarian political party that's been described as fascist, neo-Nazi, racist, and anti-Semitic. It's accused Jews of being part of a cabal of Western economic interests, attempting to control the world. In other words, the libel known as the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, a fiction created by members of the Tsarist secret police in Paris in the late 1890s, and revealed as a forgery by the London Times in 1921. On one occasion, the Jobbik Party asked for a list of all the Jews in the Hungarian government. Disturbingly, in the Hungarian parliamentary election in April 2014, it secured over 20% of the vote, making it the third largest party. Until 2012, one of its leading members was a politician in his late 20s called Shanad Szegedi. Szegedi was a rising star in the movement, widely spoken of as its future leader, until one day in 2012. That was the day Szegedi discovered he was a Jew. Some of the members of the party had wanted to stop his progress and spent time investigating his background to see whether they could find anything that would do him damage. When they found out that his maternal grandmother was a Jewish survivor of Auschwitz, and so was his maternal grandfather, they basically discovered that half of his family were killed in the Holocaust. His opponents started spreading rumors about his Jewish ancestry on the internet, and soon Szegedi himself discovered what was being said and decided to check whether the claims were true. They were. After Auschwitz, his grandparents, once Orthodox Jews, decided to hide their identity completely. When his mother was 14, her father told her the secret, but ordered her not to reveal it to anyone. Szegedy now knew the truth about himself. He decided to resign from the party and find out more about Judaism. He went to a local Chabad rabbi, Shlomo Kovich, who thought at first that he was joking. Nonetheless, he arranged for Szegedy to attend classes on Judaism and come to the synagogue. At first, Szegedy says people were shocked. He was treated by some as a leper, but he persisted. Today, he attends synagogue, keeps Shabbat, has learned Hebrew, calls himself David, and in 2013 underwent circumcision. When he first admitted the truth about his Jewish ancestry, one of his friends in the Jobbik party said the best thing would be if we shoot you, so you can be buried as a pure Hungarian. Another urged him to make a public apology. It was this comment, he said, that made him leave the party. I thought, wait a minute, am I supposed to apologize for the fact that my family was killed in Auschwitz? As the realization that he was a Jew began to change his life, it also transformed his understanding of the world. Today, he says, his focus as a politician is to defend human rights for everyone. I'm aware of my responsibility, and I know I will have to make it right in the future, he said. His story is not just a curiosity. It takes us to the very heart of the strange, fraught nature of our existence as moral beings. What makes us human is the fact that we're rational, reflective, capable of thinking things through. We feel empathy and sympathy, and this begins early. Even newborn babies cry when they hear another child cry. We have mirror neurons in the brain that make us wince when we see someone else in pain. Homo sapiens is the moral animal. Yet much of human history has been a story of violence, oppression, injustice, corruption, aggression, and war. Nor, historically, has it made a significant difference whether the actors in this story have been barbarians or citizens of a high civilization. The Greeks of antiquity, masters of art, architecture, drama, poetry, philosophy, and science, wasted themselves on the internecine Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta in the last quarter of the 5th century BCE. They never fully recovered. It was the end of the golden age of Greece. Fin de siècle, Paris and Vienna in the 1890s were the leading centers of European civilization. Yet they were also the world leaders in anti-Semitism. Paris with the Dreyfus Affair, Vienna with its anti-Semitic mayor Karl Lueger, whom Hitler later cited as his inspiration. When we are good, we are little lower than the angels. When we are bad, we are lower than the beasts. What makes us moral, and what, despite it all, makes humanity capable of being so inhumane? Plato thought that virtue was knowledge. If we knew something is wrong, we won't do it. Aristotle thought that virtue is habit, learnt in childhood till it becomes part of our character. David Hume and Adam Smith, the two intellectual giants of the Scottish Enlightenment, thought that morality comes from emotion, fellow feeling. Immanuel Kant believed that it came through rationality. A moral principle is one you're willing to prescribe for everyone. Therefore, lying can't be moral because you don't wish other people to lie to you. All your views have some truth to them, and we can find similar sentiments in the rabbinic literature. In the spirit of Plato, the sages spoke of tinuk shenishba, someone who does wrong simply because he wasn't educated to know what's right. Aristotle, well, Maimonides said the whole of Jewish ethics is a training in the habits of virtue. As for Hume and Smith and moral emotion, the rabbi said that the angels of kindness and charity argued for the creation of man because we naturally feel for others, just as they said. And Kant's principle, rationality, is similar to what the sages called svara, reason. But these insights only serve to deepen the question. If knowledge, emotion, and reason lead us to be moral, why is it that we sometimes hate and harm and kill? A full answer would take longer than a lifetime, but the short answer is simple. We are tribal animals. We form ourselves into groups. Morality is both cause and consequence of this fact. Toward people with whom we are or feel ourselves to be related, people from our group, we're capable of altruism. But towards strangers, we feel fear. And that fear is capable of turning us into monsters.
And we will stop there for today. In the fifth Aliyah, we are commanded not to lie or to bribe. The mitzvah of the sabbatical year, Shemitah, is introduced. 6 years we shall work and harvest the land, and in the 7th year we allow the land to rest. Similarly, on a weekly basis, 6 days we work, and the 7th day we, our cattle, our servants, must rest. We're forbidden to mention the names of other gods, commanded to celebrate the 3 festivals, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, to make pilgrimages to the Holy Temple on these occasions, and finally, the laws of kashrus, that we are not allowed to cook a calf mother's milk. And that takes us to Chumash with Rabbi Afton. All right. And that takes us to Rosh. Sorry. With Parsha points with Rabbi Epstein.
Mishpatim for Thursday. Excuse me, am I in the wrong Parsha? What are the holidays, the edus, the testimonial mitzvahs, and the prohibition of milk and meat, a chok, a super rational mitzvah, doing in Mishpatim, the rational mitzvah Parsha? Are they lost? Maybe that's the lesson. Mishpatim, chukim, edus, they're all the same. They're the will of Hashem. We need the devoted commitment of the chukim. Do it because God told you to. The historic quality and communal sense of the edus, remember who you are in your history, and the logic of the mishpatim to personalize the entirety of the experience.
All right. Unfortunately, we have run out of time for today, so we're going to move on. All right, we are doing chapter 23 and chapter 122 today, as we do every day, which is a really cool thing. All right, and yeah, here we go. Chapter 23 and chapter 122.
Adonai ro'i lo echsar binus teshe yarbitzeni al memnuchos yinahaleni nafshi shovev yancheni v'magli tzedek leman shemo kam kilech begetz al moves oirara yata imadi shivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni Taruch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai Dishanta vashem en roshi kosi levaya ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti b'vis Adonai le'orech yamim.
Shamala Yisrael v'samachti v'yayim li v'salino yinei oyim and doisa yura v'leinu v'shara Yerushalayim Yerushalayim Hallelujah ki shechura la yachdav sheshamu shatim shiftei ha'edus l'Yisrael lehoyda Yisrael aleinu Shama Yashavu Chizais B'Mishvat Kisais Levayis David Shalu Shalayim Yerushalayim Yishrayu Oyhavayich Ahai Yishalayim Michaelech Shava V'ayim Yisayich
Tanya.
All right, Tanya in 5 for today, the 28th day of Shevat. 29th.
For the 29th of Shevat. Maybe it's me. If all the kids don't like me and no one will play with me, maybe it's me. The Tanya takes the bold step to confront us with the hard question, maybe it's me. Why do I think that I should be insulated from any distracting thoughts? Because I'm a Beinoni who's never sinned? I still have my animal soul. It's just been repressed. It hasn't been transformed. So get over yourself. Drop the shock that I should have such thoughts. That's not fair, that I get distracted. Resist all of that. Move on and serve Hashem.
Let's talk Tanya for the 29th of Shevat of a leap year. In the Tanya of the last few days, we found out how every single one of us, we have this hidden love for God, this hidden love which desires so much to be connected to God and is deathly afraid of being disconnected from God, and how we can leverage that so as not to do any sin, because any sin is disconnecting from God, and to have the energy and passion necessary to do mitzvahs, and not only to do the mitzvah, but to do it with enthusiasm, excitement, and go all the way for it. Because we have an understanding that every mitzvah is an opportunity to connect to God and to channel and to be a manifestation of God's unity over here in this world. And in today's Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says that the opportunity to do a mitzvah, how excited we should be to do a mitzvah, because we are connecting to God. And this unity and this channeling of God's unity that we're doing through doing a mitzvah is not a temporary one. It's not as if you're doing a mitzvah and that unity with God lasts for the duration of the action of the mitzvah. The Alter Rebbe says no. Ultimately, we're connecting with God on a level which is beyond time. God transcends time, and therefore above. From God's perspective, every single time we do a mitzvah, we are connecting to God in an infinite way, in a timeless way, a connection that defies and transcends time. Now, how exciting, how amazing is that? Doing a mitzvah, every mitzvah that we do, and knowing that this is creating an eternal connection with God, at least from God's perspective. Well, we over here, we are subject to time, and therefore for us, that connection lasts while we are doing the mitzvah. But from God's perspective, that connection is infinite and eternal. So we're about to wrap up the short way, this strategy of being able to fight the animal soul. And what does it really come down to? This strategy, the short way, it comes down with being anchored in our most essential values that we have. And living a life which is consistent with our deepest values. And as a Jew, what Alter Rebbe is telling us, what is the deepest value of a Jew? The deepest desire and wish of a Jewish person is to have a relationship with God, an uninterrupted connection and relationship with God. And therefore, we walk through life, and at every single moment, we say, this act that I'm doing is it connecting me or is it disconnecting me? That is what the short way boils down to. As opposed to the long way, which we discussed in the earlier chapters, it's about creating a love for God. This love that we're talking about is not about creating a love. It's about tapping into and being in touch with our deepest value and understanding that as a Jew, our deepest value and our greatest wish is to be always connected to God. By way of example, imagine you have a parent who's having a tough time with one of their children. The child isn't behaving so appropriately, and the parent is finding the relationship strained and challenging. So how is the parent going to approach this? So there's the long way, there's the short way. The long way is the parent will take some time to think about the child and will develop feelings of admiration and respect for the child, think about how wonderful the child is in so many different ways. That's one way. That's the long way, developing feelings. But then there's the short way. What would be the short way? The parent thinking, hey, this is my kid. I love my kid. Actually, that is one of the most essential things about me, is that I love my kid and I would do anything for my child. And I'm going to behave in a way that's consistent with my deepest values and my deepest desires when it comes to my child. And the same way over here, in our relationship with God, we can develop feelings for God, or we can tap into our core values. And as a Jew, our deepest value is our desire to connect to God. In tomorrow's Tanya, we are going to finish chapter 25 and wrap up this discussion about the short way.
All right. And that, my friends, takes us to Sefer HaMitzvahs of the Rambam.
No, it's not impossible that Rebbe did say, just study Rambam each and every day. I'll never miss.
Welcome to installment number 292 of the mitzvahs as enumerated by Maimonides, the Rambam. Today we have two mitzvahs. We start with prohibition number 219, which is the prohibition of muzzling an animal while he is working the field. And this is, similar to the mitzvah that we spoke about above, about letting a hired worker eat from the produce that he is eating, it is real cruelty for an animal, especially if he's hungry, working the field and he is muzzled and he cannot eat. And it is therefore imperative that we actually feed the animals before they work the land so that they aren't so hungry. And you are allowed to feed them, less expensive grain or whatever else it is that will fill them up, so they don't want to eat the more expensive produce that they are working on. In addition, this also applies to using our voices, raising our voices to frighten the animal or to stop him from doing something or behaving in a certain way. It is really imperative, we've spoken about this in the past, that we treat animals with dignity, with respect, and with compassion. This, of course, applies to non-kosher animals as well. It doesn't matter if they're a kosher animal or a non-kosher animal. We must treat all animals with compassion. Also, if we know that they aren't eating because they are thirsty, we actually need to give them to drink so that they do eat. And don't think that, okay, if they're thirsty, they're not going to eat, so I'm not going to give them a drink, so that way they're not going to eat more of the produce. No, you should give them to drink so that they do eat. And actually, there's a beautiful story of King David, who, the way he would bring his animals to eat, he noticed that the big, strong animals would be the first ones to go and eat everything, and then the little animals were left with nothing. So he had a system where he would first take out the small animals that they would eat, and then the older, weaker ones, and his whole system until the very strong, big ones that came out to eat. And this way, everybody was satisfied and everybody was full. And God saw this system that King David did, and he said, this is the kind of person that I want to take care of my sheep, and I want him to be the leader of the Jewish people. And indeed, he became King David. Our second mitzvah of today is Positive Commandment 244, which puts the financial responsibility of one who borrows an object. If somebody borrows an object and something happens to it, he is financially responsible to pay back the damage that happened, because he is the one, as we've discussed in the past, that he's getting exclusive benefit from this product because he's borrowing it. He's not being paid and he's not paying for it, but he's getting use of it. So if something happens under his watch, then he is responsible to pay for it. Have a wonderful day.
All right. And that takes us to matters of Mashiach. All right, just let me have this load over here. Okay. The Arizal writes that most of the men in our generation are ruled by their wives, especially Torah scholars, and this emphasizes the responsibility placed on women. In order for Torah scholars to be proper, the women must also be proper, since the conduct of the men depends on them. As discussed previously, it's in the merit of the women that the redemption will come. The Holy Arizal writes that in the times leading up to Mashiach, the world will be tempered by the feminine traits of dedication, love, beauty, and peace. And it'll be for this reason that men are increasingly reliant on their wives for both material and spiritual direction and inspiration. When Hashem decreed that the Jewish people wander for 40 years in the desert, he also decreed that men 20 and over would not enter into the land. Yet the women were not included in this decree, because the land was dear to them. The men said, "Let us appoint a leader and return to Egypt." In contrast, the women, the daughters of Tzalafchad, requested, "Give us a portion in the land." We see that women have a superior love, faith, and yearning for the redemption and the promised land. When faced with the possibility of losing an ancestral inheritance in Israel through marriage, they demanded, "We want a portion in the land. Give us our portion." We must learn from their emunah, their faith, and their bitachon, their confident belief, and not be faced by apparent obstacles to redemption. That's pretty cool. All right. We have time for our PSAs today.
KOSHER.com. I invite you to help so many families enjoy Shabbos through Masbia. Today I prepared 4 salad dressings to add to this beautiful Shabbos Uda that you're making possible, helping so many families enjoy Shabbos in dignity and grace with so much flavor and a nutritious feast.
Right. Available by texting word food. Hot meals every day in Robinson County. Available by texting word food. Achiezer.org for everything else that you could possibly need. They are there to help you out. All right. And Hatzalah EMS with their global assist app, now available on the Apple and Android stores. Miss Askim in times of bereavement is there to help you out, and Just One Shabbos is there to help our youth get back to the beauty of keeping Shabbat. God forbid the victim of a hate crime, you see a hate crime in progress, you need to call 911 immediately. And while you're out and about, you need to be wearing a mask. Yes, can't how important that
mask, wear a mask. Is this really much to ask? Tie some fabric around your face. Oh, it's the simplest of tasks. At the gym, at the store, don't treat it like such a chore.
In this flu and cold season, it is time to take your health into your own hands. And please, for crying out loud, go get your vaccinations. All right? All right. Let's bring some heaven down. Wisdom. Each journey the soul travels takes her higher. Some journeys, well, they're painful, but with purpose. The purpose overwhelms the pain and transforms it into joy. Some journeys are painful, but with no purpose in sight. No medicine to wash away that pain. There is no medicine other than the faith that every journey the soul travels takes her higher. Some so much higher that she can't even imagine their meaning until she arrives. Lord, take me high, higher. Word of come talk to me about it on social media, any of the Actors Rabbis groups, at Clubhouse or Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, Telegram, or Twitter or WhatsApp or YouTube or theactorsrabbi.com. Ato Adonai Eloheinu Melech ha'olam boirei nefashos rabois v'chesreinan al kol ma sheborosa lachayos boem nefesh kol chai boruch chei ha'olamim. Thank you to my sponsors, Pest Pro Red, All Tarzan Orchids, Dina Racha Peterman, Avi G, Reza Musafi in the UK, or in Sweden, residents in Sweden, not in the UK. I don't want to get my people confused over here. All right. We have Chaim Avital Zrok, Zadok. I think that's the name of it. All right. Thank you to my Patreon sponsors. You can become a sponsor by going to patreon.com/theactorsrabbi or breakfastwithelli.live/newcomputer and contribute to our campaign today. If you know someone that's looking to donate, someone that is able to help us out, maybe one person that could do the whole thing, that would be absolutely incredible. Or somebody that can give us a big chunk, because we're kind of floundering. We're kind of a little bit stagnated, and so we need to get this. We need to get this thing moving. All right. So please let me know if you're able to help or know someone that's able to help. It's all equally important. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. It is Thursday. Time to start getting ready for Shabbat. Tonight is Rosh Chodesh Adar Rishon. Rosh Chodesh of the first month of Adar. There are 2 Adars. We will be doing our 60 days increasing joy beginning tomorrow. I know you're looking forward to that. Thank you for being here. Go out and do something nice, something good for someone today. In the words of Rav Isaac Hammer, have affection for a fellow. Hashem will have affection for you. Do a kindness for a fellow. Hashem will do a kindness for you. Draw a fellow close. Hashem will draw you close to him. Make it a great and glorious day. Be the reason someone smiles. I love you guys so much. Thanks for being here. Talk to you tomorrow, God willing. Kindness for you. Draw a fellow close. Hashem will draw you close to him. Make it a great and glorious day. Be the reason someone smiles. I love you guys so much. Thanks for being here. Talk to you tomorrow, God willing. Kindness for you. Draw a fellow close. Hashem will draw you close to him. Make it a great and glorious day. Be the reason someone smiles. I love you guys so much. Thanks for being here. Talk to you tomorrow, God willing. Kindness for you. Draw a fellow close. Hashem will draw you close to him. Make it a great and glorious day. Right? Thanks for being here. Kindness for you.
כשאני מרגיש לפתע שיש לי רגע טוב, אני מסתכל למעלה, פתאום מתחיל לחשוב איך יש לי רגעים שהם קצת לא קלים, ויש לי גם תקופות שלא רואה סליחות, אבל לא שמתי לב לכל הטוב שיש לי, ואיך שאני אוהב גם כל אתגר שבא לי, אז למה לי לחשוב על מה שעוד לא טוב, הרי זה רק בראש ואין במה לחשוב. על מוקד דאגות ואתה ביטחון, החיים עוד לפניך, אין זמן תרוץ קדימה, תסתכל רק על הטוב, כי שהוא יופיע, אז תביאו ככי אתה יכול להיות רגוע. מוקד דאגות ואתה ביטחון, החיים עוד לפניך, אין זמן תרוץ סופתה והכל, ואהבת ביטחון. החיים עוד לפניך, אין זמן, תרוץ קדימה, סתר רק על הטוב, יהיה שהוא יופיע, אז תן חיוך אחי, אתה יכול להיות רגוע. סופתה והכל, ואהבת ביטחון. החיים עוד לפניך, אין זמן, תרוץ קדימה, סתר רק על הטוב, יהיה שהוא יופיע, אז תן חיוך אחי, אתה יכול להיות רגוע. Bring them home, bring them home. We've been praying for so long, so Abba, please bring them home. Bring them home, please bring them home. We've been praying for so long, so Abba, please bring them home. We're coming home, we're almost home.